basically, yeah, so I want to talk about Hofi's ergonomic forging method. Those of you have heard about it, those of you who haven't, basically, it's not to say that no one else uses this method. Some people do use elements or components of the same method, but what Hofi did, it basically codified it and put some sort of scientific background behind it, so it can be easily transferred and explained and used compared to, something else. Let's say we have a chunk of steel, and of course we want to, we have to heat it up, because on this planet that we live, the ambient temperature is such that iron is solid. If we lived on some other planet, it would have been, we just would squeeze it with like hands or tentacles or claws or whatever we had there. Here we have to heat the damn thing, right? So, and the reason we have to heat it because it's really damn hard, which is why we make stuff out of it, right? So, but to deform it meaningfully, to make life easier, we have to heat it up, right? So that's like a basic fundamental thing. Steel has to be hot to be deformed because as blacksmiths we are lazy saws. We don't want to work too hard, so we heat it up to make life easier for ourselves, correct? Right? I know that we're all pyromaniacs as well, but basically that's why we do it. So, however, the moment you take it out, it cools off. You put it on the anvil, it cools off even faster. Correct? Yes. Okay, so it behooves us to figure out ways of working as fast as possible. Also, it's beneficial to whatever our tool would be, to work as fast as possible, with the fewer heats as possible. Right? So, how people count time and distance, time with hours and days and minutes, and distance with miles or kilometers or yards or whatever. And we, of course, count times rather like the Inuit people, they count distance and travel by number of sleeps. If you want to go from A to B, ask an Inuit in Greenland, how long, what's the distance? They tell you, it's 5 sleeps. Because it's nonsense to say it's 20 miles, because it might take you a week to get there because it's very rough terrain. And if somebody gives you that information, 20 miles, it's meaningless because it could be very rough or very smooth terrain. You don't know how many dogs to bring, how much food, clothes, you don't. But if you say 5 sleeps, okay, you can start planning, right? Much better. So by the same token, we count everything we do in heats. Right? So of course we try to do everything in minimal number of heats. A, we save gas. B, we save energy. C, we save wear and tear on the body. And what's the difference? You might ask if you make a point, on a bar, and you make it in 1 heat or 2 heats. No big deal, right? Of course, unless you have to make 100 of them, then it's a very big deal, right? So that's 1 extra heat that you manage to save per point actually is a huge deal. It could be the difference between profit and loss in a project. Whoever took a project and suffered a loss? Raise your hand. Okay, there you go. Okay, who generated less profit than they would have liked? Okay, so this is one way. Who has problems with wrist, elbow, or shoulder, or back? Okay, so who has calluses on the hands, on the hammer? Okay, so here it is. When I met Hofi, I was already practicing smith. I was living in Japan, but I would visit him periodically. And he says, "Show me your hand." And I looked at my hand and says, "Why do you have calluses?" And I says, "Well, I'm a blacksmith." And I says, what kind of question is that? I says, "Yeah, I'm also a blacksmith. Longer than you, actually." And he says, "Look at my hand." I looked at his hand and I touched it. There was no calluses at all. That's the hammer hand. No glove, obviously. So how does that happen? Why doesn't he have any calluses? And he says, well, it's because, there's ways of doing it. Okay, and the way you do it causes you to have this, horse's hoof instead of a hand. And he says, I promise you, as you adopt this method, your wife will like your whole better. So, and he was entirely right. I don't really have, my hands are filthy, you can't tell, but my hands are much smoother. I don't have calluses anymore, as promised. Also, the physical problems I had went away. I had certain issues with my, wrist and my shoulder. So, snake oil. I'm selling you some snake oil here. The good thing is that I don't have anything to gain by it, so you can trust me. So, it all goes back to this hammer. Why this particular hammer? Right? The hammer and the method go together. Let me outline the goals. The goal is, first, to work as fast as possible, as we outlined, as efficiently as possible, I should say. Goal number 2 is to minimize effort at the same time. Goal number 3 is to increase accuracy. And goal number 4, I forgot. And goal number 4, to minimize damage to the body. Okay? And if we adopt this method, it just so happens that it works together all well. Okay? So let me explain. So, you know how some people hammer, it's kind of painful to watch, but they do this, right? You know that, they kind of try to squeeze. Well, I have a hydraulic press, and the hydraulic press can do that. We cannot do that, we cannot squeeze, okay, so we have to do what? Impact, right? We have to hit it, energy. So, alright, so impact means, if we go into physics, so impact means, what kind of energy is that?
Kinetic.
Yeah, it's a kinetic energy, right? So high school physics come into play here. What's the formula for kinetic energy? Anyone remembers?
mv squared.
Yeah. So m being what?
Mass.
Yeah, that's the mass. And v being what?
Velocity.
The velocity. And divided by 2. Okay, so really very straightforward. So we want this to increase, this has to increase, right? So this component. So of course we can take a giant hammer, the mass will increase, right? So let's say we have, let's say that, the descending hand with the hammer, I have no idea. Do anybody knows what is the velocity of descending hammer hand? I couldn't find any info. Okay, so, but let's say it's 10 feet per second. Let's say, right? I'm just inventing it, okay? And let's say that we take a big heavy hammer like 5 pounds. Okay? So let's say that, we multiply this, okay? So this is squared, so that's 100, right? Multiplied by 5, that's 500, divided by 2, we have 250 what? Feet of energy, I guess, right?
2 pounds.
Yeah, okay, so that's what we get here. Okay, so now let's say that we, instead of this, let's say we drop 2 pounds from the hammer and make it 3 pounds. Okay, and let's say that we gain 2 or 3, equivalent, 3 feet per second, because we have a much lighter hammer, so it's much easier to swing, right? Okay, so, well, you can do the math, whoever has a calculator, right? It's squared, so you can see that we immediately gain. Anyone that's good with math? We have an accountant here, perhaps, or a math teacher? I can't do it in my head anymore. Yeah. Anyhow, so you can see that 13 multiplied by 13 is...
169.
I'm sorry?
13 times 13 is 169.
Okay, so 169 multiplied by 3. Yeah, so it's 300 and...
507.
507.
And then cut that in half.
Yeah, then you cut it in half. So we immediately have a gain. Okay, here, higher gain because it's squared. Okay, so how do we, that's why it behooves us to use a smaller hammer rather than a larger hammer to achieve the same result, basically, right? So you can move as much material as you can see with a 3-pound hammer as you can with a 5-pound hammer. The difference, you won't tear yourself up, and you will be able to do it all day long. Okay, so I don't care how strong you are. If you swing a 5-pound hammer every day, chances are, and of course allowing for individual difference, chances are you'll do some damage. And you won't be accurate. You have to take long breaks. Okay, so this is my go-to hammer. It's 2.5 pounds. It's small. And another one, when I forge anything over, say 5/8, I go for this one. This is 3.25. Okay, so these 2 hammers is what I go for. Okay, so we established the desirability of having a somewhat smaller hammer, the kinetic energy, right? So it behooves us then to look at it, how can we increase the velocity then, right? Well, how can we increase the velocity of a hammer? Okay, we drop the weight, that helps. What else can we do? Well, it's called ergonomic forging method. That implies some sort of body action, right? So how can we do that? Yeah, work harder. Okay, anybody here works lazily? Yeah, I'm doing lazy. Well, seriously, you know, like people say, well, just work harder. Well, we're already working pretty hard, you know. Again, look, you know, two boxers get in a ring, and they're very fit people, right? Like extremely fit young people. And how long does a bout last? Yeah, and then they have to take a little break, and they look completely winded, and they are. Okay, so we cannot do that. We cannot go all out because we lost, you know, a couple of minutes, and that's it. And I'm 56. Okay, I'm not getting into any kind of ring with anybody, certainly not with myself. So how can I still, you know, increase my efficiency and, you know, deliver more kinetic energy? Well, let's look at our joints. Okay, because all speed is generated by circular motion of our joints. You know, our joints can only do circular motions. They can't do anything else. If you look at our joint, you won't find any joint that does anything else. It's like all circular motion, right? So we have the elbow, the shoulder. Okay, you know, some people just do this, you know, you notice that. Some people just do that, right? Okay, it's good to raise the hammer a little bit, activate the shoulder. Okay, and then the elbow, and then the wrist. And that's that. That's the three joints, 1 and 2 and 3. Okay, and this is the conventional grip on the hammer. Okay, now notice that the wrist moves in two directions, right? It can move, do this. How many degrees is this?
30.
Yeah, maybe. And it can do this. How many degrees is that?
About 180.
Yeah, it's varies from person to person. You know, in my case, it's like maybe 170 degrees. Okay. One more. I need a volunteer. Come on, volunteer. Very simple. Very simple. Yeah, volunteer. Okay, so here, if you grab the hammer from here, so you can see, you grab the hammer the conventional way, right? And then start tilting it. See what happens to your shoulder? Why do you lift your shoulder? Why are you lifting it? Yeah. Why are you doing that? Because I'm hurting you. Yeah, because I'm hurting you. Okay, so what if I do it the other way? You grip it like tightly, right? And go the other way, and your shoulder sinks. Same thing, right? Because your wrist, I'm hurting you a little bit, not too much, I hope. Yeah, okay. So the bones here grind against each other. It's uncomfortable, so you kind of tilt your shoulder, right? You know. So thank you very much. Okay, so you see that, right? So it's not only the movement here is limited, but also the bones kind of bump against each other. It's unpleasant. Okay, so I've hurt my hand back in my youth more than once using big shears, for example. Right? You cut it with the shears, and then suddenly the bar is cut, and you go, right? I did it like 3 times, and each time, like, you know, second and third, you feel like an idiot. Yeah, maybe. Okay, so this is very painful. Okay, this on the other hand is not. So the bigger the motion of a joint, the more speed we generate. Think of a whip, right? We have whip, we have like a large section close to the handle, then thinner and thinner and very thin at the end, right? Same thing, big, right? Thick, thinner, thinner. If only we could increase, you know, the motion, if we can use this motion, right? We would increase the speed and it won't hurt. We won't damage our wrist. Okay? Well, how can we do that? How can we forge while using this motion? Is the question I want to ask.
Change your grip on your hammer?
Yeah, we change the grip on a hammer. So this is the conventional grip, right? Some people do the bad thing and they put the thumb off. Don't do that. Maybe reasons why not. Now what if we, instead of doing this, and it's kind of subtle, what if we rotated our hammer 90 degrees? Well, that's all I do. That's all I'm doing. See, it's 90 degrees now. So my thumb is on the flat of the hammer. Not here, on the flat. Okay, like this. About 3 fingers away from the head. Okay, and I hold it lightly. As I swing up, this is the natural motion of the hammer. This. It looks the same. I mean, what's the big deal, you know? So, but actually what happens is, my wrist can flex now. You see this way. It doesn't hurt. Moreover, I added a 4th joint. This thing. This will only happen if you overcome the tendency to grip, you know, the hammer in a death grip. Very light, and like like this. Not like this, because that's, 90 degrees. So see, basically I'm rotating my hand 90 degrees. And this is what I achieve. This thing, this motion. Okay, so this little slab. So basically I have 1, 2, 3, 4 joints, and I've increased the motion on this joint simultaneously. When I hit it, it won't go straight into this little bones, like so. Much easier to just let it come out. Okay, this is what happens when I raise it. Okay, this fingers act as a limiter. I'll demonstrate why it's good. So let's say that I have a 3/8 bar of steel and I want to make a 3-inch taper. Okay, by the way, you remember the calculation, right? If you want to make a 3-inch taper, how much material do we need? We want a 3-inch taper, right? Round. Okay, and we have a bar there. So how much material do we need?
1.5 inches.
1 inch is enough, because a proportion is 1. If you want an extra, you can add, of course, half, but basically the proportion is 1 to 3, because a cylinder, this is just volume geometry.
Oh.
A cylinder fits in, a cone fits in a cylinder exactly 3 times.
Round bar, not square bar.
Sorry, yeah, round bar, I'm sorry, I should have been, more...
Okay. Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Detailed. Yeah, so round bar, yeah, so you want to make like a cone out of a, out of a cylinder. It's 1 to 3, just as an aside, right? So 3/8 bar. Okay, so how many heats for 3/8? How many heats should it take?
Depends how good you are.
I'm sorry?
Depends how good you are.
No, in general,
One
what
heat.
can I expect of myself if I'm, yeah, so 1 heat should be enough, right? Okay, including rounding it. Okay, how about ½ inch? ½ inch round.
1 heat.
Yeah, 1 heat, yeah. How about 5/8?
1 heat.
Yeah, also it should take 1 heat. How about 3/4?
1 heat.
Yeah, 3/4. Basically, all the way, you have to change hammers at some point, go for a little heavier hammer, but basically, all the way up to 1 inch square. So this was done with my second master in Japan, the sword maker. He was apprenticed for 10 years, and he said during the 10 years, his master talked to him once. He said, don't hold the hammer like this, hold it like that. That's it. That's like Japanese for you, like, it's like that's it. In 10 years, once. He didn't speak to him. He was like lowly apprentice, he just he spoke, bring coal, clean the shop, whatever. But in terms of explaining, yeah, that's what it did, So I'm kind of not like that. In general, just so my outlook is, there are basically 2 kinds of smith as far as I can tell. One is of the school, just get it hot and hit it hard. Well, I'm not of that school, because if that's the only thing you do, chances are you just do a pancake of some sort and then pretend that that's what you wanted all along. Smithing is fairly precise in terms of how material moves. And I make a lot of tools. So if you make tools, there are 4 components in making a good tool. Again, I'm talking about tools. In tools, this is like a sculptural element. Sitting there, that's obviously, a different scenario. But if you're making any kind of tool, like chef's knives or woodworking tools or any hammers or anything like that. So you need to have a good design for the tool to begin with. You need to have good execution, like your techniques, how you heat it, how you forge it, all of that. You need to select your steel properly. We'll discuss that as well. It's a big subject. And you need to heat treat it properly. Now, all of these components, as somebody put it, they're like a chain. Okay, so if any one of these links go, the rest of them are meaningless. Doesn't matter how good you design it. You select the wrong kind of steel, it doesn't matter. Okay, you select an excellent steel, you can't heat treat it properly, it doesn't matter. The rest doesn't matter. So all of these components, they have to hang together. Okay, so that's why, again, this is for smithing, the get it hot and hit it hard approach, I think, is terrible. Okay, because people also say many ways of skinning a cat. That's also true to an extent, but to do it efficiently is only usually 1 or 2 ways to do it, maybe 3 sometimes. Okay, but if you go from A to B, there are fairly precise steps. Okay, so, you know, we often attracted to smithing, myself included, because of some innate anti-intellectual tendency, because you're just banging on steel, man, you know. But, you know, at the same time, how shall I put it? You know, there's you know, a certain kind of person who subscribes to, you know, who like is a graduate of the college of what my father always said, and does then postgraduate studies at the University of what a man in a pub told me. You know, you see them on like YouTube and whatnot, people just say stuff, and sometimes it's based in reality, but often it's not. Okay, so...
And there's some of us who listen to our dad and went, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's part and parcel. I have a teenage daughter. She won't be like listening to everything I said, and she will, like, you know, say, actually, I'm going to do the opposite. And you know what? Sometimes the opposite works better. So what can I say? Yeah. So, yeah. So let's erase that. And here's the thing. I always use it in my classes. This element, right? That's kind of the next step of the, you know, whole Hofi process. So you see this little element here? Nothing special about it. All right? Anyone can make it. All right? So students will come in and never did any kind of forging and just give it to them and say, okay, how did I make this? Using nothing but the anvil and the hammer. Okay, how did I make this element? Okay, each part should take one heat, obviously. And okay, so how did I achieve that thing? Okay, they need to pass it around, everybody can see it. Yeah. Okay. So basically, you know, if you want to move metal, you have three possibilities, and you know, on the combination thereof. You can hit an upright blow like this, right? And then the metal moves where? Where does it move?
All directions.
All directions. Yeah. Yeah. So all directions. So let's say north, south, west, east. Okay, so it moves, you know, when you look at this thing, the middle of it is spread out. You have the illusion it moved only sideways. No, it moved forward too, equally. Okay, so that's the upright blow. The point, you know, you can move only, or mostly, I shouldn't say only, this doesn't work. Switch. Yeah. So it can move north-south. How do we achieve that? How do we make the metal move north-south? Face. Okay. Sorry, I don't get it. I mean, I always see the face, right? So look at this. We get it in the middle. Four directions. How to make it just one direction? Yeah. So with the Hofi hammers, you can see it's square, so it's really convenient. That's why it's square, because you can tilt your hammer and use the edge. And I don't mean blows like this, just like this. All right? Just fuller it, okay? So you fuller it like that. And there you have it, right? You have a point. You can round it off. Okay? Any other way of doing this apart from using the edge of the hammer?
To what, just taper it?
To you know, to make the metal go forward. I just want to.
Use it.
Yeah, you can use. Yeah, the edge of the anvil, right? We put it here and do the same thing. We're fuller, 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 fuller. And look how I'm doing. I'm not starting with the tip. Often smiths start with the tip. But again, within the Hofi policy of preserving the heat as much as possible, we start at the back. Okay? Why do people often do the tip? I don't know, but often it's because you do the tip and then you kind of taper everything from the tip. You have the visual guide. You see what I mean, right? You make the tip and then you kind of bang the metal behind it. Usually it will take you two heats to finish the tip, if you do it that way. If it's long one, right? So if you want to make a long point fast in one heat, you do the calculation, 1, 2, 3, and you stick out however much you want, and you go like this. Okay, and you fuller, 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 fuller over the rounded edge of the anvil, and then you square it, and then round it, and that's it. And that's the faster way, because most of your metal is not touching your anvil; it's hanging out there. So you preserve the heat because you have a blob of metal here. Do it again, right? See, and you're drawing it towards yourself. Okay, like this, and there you have it. Right? Very fast. And of course, if you want the metal to go sideways, right? We want it to go west-east. Okay, west, east. How do we do that? Yeah, I think I have that's why I have the square, the cross beam, right? So, very efficient way of moving metal around. And of course, I forgot to mention, this is also a fuller. So if you want to do a more gentle kind of taper, it will be more slow, you can use your fork, of course, right? So that's it. These are the three possibilities, and only three. Any combination thereof, right? You can, that's all there is, okay? So it's good to have this in the mind. Where do I want the metal to move? Which direction, okay? And then I use appropriate part of the anvil, or the edge of the anvil, or Hofi hammer allows you to do that. Short, fat head, so you can tilt it and hammer it with the edge, okay, very efficiently. The blow coming down straight. Think of it as a car with infinite number of gears, because it can go from here to here and anywhere in between. If your metal is already thin, you tilt it a little bit. If it's still thick, you can use penetrating blows, you tilt it like that. Notice the difference in the handle too. This is the conventional hammer handle. Looks comfy. I really don't like it, I have to say. And why don't I like it? Yeah, first thing is your hand will always migrate here. Right? This looks comfy, but it will not stay here. It will migrate here, so we're continuously doing this, playing catch-up. Another thing is that is not good about it is that it's, look at the profile. Okay, you see the difference in profile? Have you seen a hammer before? So this is oval. Now if you take your hand and look here, just look at your hand, like this. Do you see an oval?
Yeah.
I don't see an oval. You know what I see? I see a rectangle. I don't know what kind of weird claw you got there, man. Be weirder than mine. But when I look here, if I really look at it, what I see is a rectangle with broken edges. Because our bones are, straight here. They're not curved. Okay, so this is a rectangle with broken edges, so I fit it in. Here's a little experiment. Let's select our victim carefully here. Yeah, you'll be the victim if it's okay. Let's do a little experiment. You have to come here and grab the hammer as light as you can. As light, just with all fingers, but as lightly as I can, and let me rotate it in your hand. Okay? Just let me move it. Now very, very gradually tighten your grip until it stops moving. Okay, stop moving. Okay, now remember how strongly you have to squeeze. Remember that? Okay, now let's try the same with this one. Okay, let me rotate it first. Okay, and then very gradually tighten your grip. Okay, so is there a difference? Yeah, thank you. So that's it. This one, to prevent it from rotating, you need a whole lot less effort because it actually fits in your hand. All right? Because it's flat here. This one encourages you to squeeze, the crap out of it. The harder you squeeze your hammer, the less efficient it will be, the more tiring it will be, and the more the shock of the blow goes into your hand, which you don't want. So this hammer is used only when I do this kind of explanation, and it goes back on the rack until next time. Notice also how the head is much longer. So this is why I can use the edge. There's less tendency for lateral forces here, right? Because there's a whole lot less leverage. Of course, it has a rounded face, so I can't use the edges at all, really, right? So that's another disadvantage. Okay, I kind of, really should apologize to this hammer. Dissed it publicly. So, yeah, one more thing. There's a double taper here. Okay, again, some people make this hammer and they leave like sharp edges, like it's a good thing, it's not a good thing. Edges should be nice and rounded, okay? So you don't have any kind of unpleasant feeling in your hand. But it discourages slippage forward, right? So you don't have to change your hand position. It naturally tends to lock itself wherever you hold it, be it here or here. I don't like hammers with long handles. I find them useless. The handle just bangs on the handle on occasion. Everybody knows this famous photo of yelling with like a really long hammer at the handle. I have a feeling he just grabbed whatever he had for the photo op. But I didn't find long handles to be useful even for heavy blows. If you want to deliver heavy blows with a separate technique, you can deliver heavy blows with a short-handled hammer. There's a technique for that as well. It doesn't require you to carry extra, 5 inches of useless wood. Okay, so short for me works very well. Again, this is, how I do it. Okay, so any questions about this whole thing? Why Hofi hammer and the Hofi technique and all that? Yeah.
Doesn't slightly longer handle give you more leverage like you were talking about?
Less accuracy. A whole lot less accuracy. Accuracy is more important in my book than almost anything. Because if I can deliver, 3 heavy but inaccurate blows, I'd rather deliver 1 accurate blow than, because then I'll have to correct, whatever I missed. With this, you really can lay blows very close to each other. And the method that is often described is squeezing the toothpaste, we all know that. Right? So you squeeze here, and squeeze, and squeeze, and squeeze, right? Overlapping blows. That requires accuracy, especially if you use the edge. If you have a long handle hammer, it's hard to achieve that kind of accuracy, and you waste more time correcting. Realistically, right, there's a limit to how accurate you can be. We all miss a blow. Every other blow maybe is inaccurate. You correct it. If the correcting blow is also slightly inaccurate, you correct that, right? So I'm humble about that sort of thing. So there's a technique if you want to deliver a very hard blow with this hammer. There's a technique. We'll get into that a little later. But for now, this is what we're doing. Okay, so again, so that's the Hofi hammer. Another hammer that I use a lot is this. Who makes knives here? Fess up, even it's a guilty secret, you don't tell anyone. Okay, so this is a Japanese style knife maker's hammer. Notice that it has a Hofi hammer handle on it. Okay, Japanese have really crappy handles on their hammers. They're excellent craftspeople and they make absolutely god-awful tools for themselves. I don't know why. Really uncomfortable, tear up the hands. That includes everything. Cutters, tongs, hammers, everything. Just really uncomfortable. I don't know why. They make excellent tools for everyone else and really crappy, cheapo tools for themselves. I don't know why. The fact that they make such excellent work with such crappy tools is a testament to, their dedication, I think. So anyhow, Hofi style handle here. Why this odd shape? Anyone can tell me? What's the advantage of a cutter's hammer? Yeah, it's for working on an edge. You have a thin edge, right? At some point, this hammer, you try to work on the edge, you're banging on the anvil. It's just mechanics. So you need a narrow face. It's also very jumpy. You can deliver very rapid, light blows. And you can work on the edge of whatever you're making, hatchet, chisel, knife, and you can thin it out without banging on the anvil. So it delivers a lot of weight on a smaller surface. Okay, also very fast and jumpy hammer because of the geometry of it. Right? So this is kind of my version. So this is the east-west sort of thing, you see. So it's a Hofi hammer, Hofi handle. You can use Hofi technique with this hammer, but the head is Japanese and yet not Japanese. Notice it has very wide cheeks. Japanese hammers don't have that ever. Why do I like such wide cheeks apart from the look? Anyone can tell me what's the advantage? Yeah, you keep the mass in the center, and also the handle doesn't come out that easily because it's a very big surface for the handle to sit in, right? There's a whole lot more friction. Okay, taking it out. Break the edges. That's what happens. Okay, so do a shallow incision and then rotate across me from the
millimeter